While Minecraft has since split off into a couple of versions across multiple platforms, Minecraft Java Edition, the original PC version of the game, has now officially crossed 30 million lifetime sales. It's a milestone highlighted by members of the dev team on Twitter, and one that a counter on the start page itself has been slowly ticking up to for some time now, though Minecraft content team manager Mark Dodson notes on Twitter that the counter is only mostly live. Minecraft, of course, got its start close to a decade ago, though the game and its developer Mojang have since been acquired by Microsoft. Despite that ownership, Minecraft is up for selling nearly 20 platforms across desktops, console, and mobile devices. As of October, the game still boasted 90 million monthly players and had sold over 150 million copies across all those platforms worldwide. The Minecraft Java Edition sales reflect what was once the original Java-based version of Minecraft for PC, Mac, and Linux from its first release until now. The other version of the game, once called Bedrock Edition, but now known as just Minecraft, is the one used by consoles, mobile devices, and Windows 10. According to a short and sweet tweet from Watson, the current full sales count for all those different versions combined is way more. It's happening. Minecraft Java Edition just passed 30,000 sales. https Kobe6k to sitmvplick. Twitter.com YZAKKNDVP. As acting president and CEO of the Entertainment Software Association, Stanley Pierre Lewis views himself as one of the leading voices for the positive impact video games can have on society. We are seeing video games being used in lots of positive ways, and that's a great narrative for video games, he said in a recent interview with Gamasutra during the DICE Summit in Las Vegas last week. It's in the DICE's interest to highlight the positive aspects of the game industry as is the U.S. trade organization and lobbying group that represents some of the biggest corporations in the industry, including Epic Games, Activision Blizzard, and Nintendo, to name just a few. So last summer, when the World Health Organization officially classified gaming disorder alongside established addictive disorders, Pierre Lewis, who's been with the ESA since 2015 as General Counsel, took particular issue with the classification's negative connotations. The ESA's concern with this particular classification, gaming disorder, as being proposed by WISE, that is not based on media consensus. It's based on a point of view by some medical experts, Pierre Lewis said, whose website stated the decision to include the gaming disorder classification is based on reviews of available evidence and reflects a consensus of experts from different disciplines on geographical regions. Who defines gaming disorder as such? Gaming disorder is defined in the 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases, IT-11, as a pattern of gaming behavior, digital gaming, or illegal gaming, characterized by impaired control over gaming, increasing priority given to gaming over other activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities, and continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. For gaming disorder to be diagnosed, the behavior pattern must be of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational or other important areas of functioning and would normally have been evident for at least 12 months. In a corresponding talk he gave at ICE, he noted that the American Psychological Association, American Medical Association, and American Psychiatric Association all declined to classify any level of video game use as a disorder. Pierre Lewis said that a gaming disorder misdiagnosis could have negative consequences on people with physical and/or mental health issues. There are several instances where kids who have turned to video games to escape mental and physical abuse are undergoing treatment for gaming disorder instead of the underlying abuse they have endured. He said, some people do have unhealthy video game habits that they form, and when someone has underlying addictive or compulsive tendencies, they can get hooked on games, sometimes to extreme effect. Pierre Lewis acknowledged that there is debate among medical experts that amounts to whether games cause disorder versus game addiction being a symptom of a larger concern. He sides with the latter notion. So where does that leave game developers in terms of responsibility to players to not invoke compulsive tendencies? Pierre Lewis declined to speak directly about what individual game developers should do, and rather deferred to the game industry's history of self-regulation, such as the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. I think that the video game industry has the strongest self-regulation model of any entertainment industry, he said. That's the Federal Trade Commission, who says that. That's not Stan talking. We have an industry that really listens to consumers. Following the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida last year, that left 14 students and 3 staff dead and many wounded, the Trump administration's offered to invite representatives from the game industry, including the NSA, to talk about video games and real-world violence. Asked about the reasoning behind attending at all, the answer is quick: to cite studies that show no evidence of a link between games and real-world violence. Pierre Lewis argued that the game industry needed to speak up in order to avoid being scapegoated. Our takeaway was, we were able to express the importance of video games writ large, he said. We were also able to look at the evidence that's out there about what happens when people play the same games in the United States vs. other countries. The same games are distributed worldwide, but you do not have the same violence issues in other countries that you have here, which says that there is something else going on. It's not video games. I think that had a really big impact on discussions. Pierre Lewis said that even though a meeting with the White House might not translate into policy, being part of the discussion is important in order to avoid video games from becoming stifled due to concerns that are unwarranted. Former NASA head Michael Gallagher last year said the organization is watching the topic of unionization from a distance and not taking an active role in advocating for game workers. This comes amid pro-union traction in the wake of reports of crunch, lack of severance pay, mass layoffs, and in general, poor working conditions. Unionization has not been a significant issue in the game industry for the last 10 years, he told Waypoint at the time. Under Pierre Lewis, the asset, which represents large corporations and the industry, and not necessarily their individual employees, distanced his organization from any definitive stance on unions or workers' rights. I know that our members and our industry wants the best place possible for the creation games, he said, and that means creating the workforce in a very respectful way. At the same time, each company's workforce needs to make its own independent judgment about issues related to unionization. That's not something Ethel really engages on. When further asked if the SM would stay completely neutral on the issue of unionization, even in light of the BD State of the Industry report that said nearly 50% of game devs believed game workers should unionize, Pierre Louis reiterated it's up to each company's workforce, adding, "We are trying to amplify the positive of what the industry does." I think that answers your question. This interview is part of our Road to the If series. You can find the rest by clicking here. MINITTAKE as a grand adventure across a sprawling world, and breaks it into 1-minute chunks, having players find secrets, defeat bosses, and delve through dungeons on a tight time limit. Gamasutra sat down with Kitty Callis, one of the developers of the Supermass McNally Grand Prize-nominated Minute, to talk about the benefits they saw in working with limitations.